Legend of Korra Season 2, Episode 9, titled The Guide. Now, after 2 weeks ago when we had one and the amazing episodes, beginnings part 1 and part 2, the story this week, or the episode this week, picks up the story right where it left off. Korra's heading to Tenzin and she has to figure out a way to get into the spirit world. And this episode I really enjoyed because it had, three separate stories. Mostly, of course, Korra getting into the spirit world, which was good because it gave Junora, it finally, really talked about her being in the spirit world and stuff like that, or having a spiritual connection. And the way they showed it, I thought was really interesting because we never got to see anyone in, that had such a connection to the spirit world that they would just, see spirits. It wasn't like with, in Juan's story, he was just in a world where humans and spirits live together, and she was just in a area, and maybe they, it is like that still in certain cases because they were, the spirits, the little bunnies, bunny dragonflies, were able to show themselves to everyone. So I guess some spirits can stay, in our realm pretty much, but they generally stay hidden because, of course, they kind of be attacked by humans. But it was really good to see her finally get the spotlight, and they finally, talk about her connection and stuff like that. And we learned Tenzin never went to the spirit world, which is huge because, he's Tenzin, he's Aang's son, so he learns all this stuff from him. And it was funny, Boomy was like, "Hi, welcome to the I Disappointed Dad Club," which was funny. It was funny, I thought he got burned like a lot in this episode. Like everyone was like, "Yeah, maybe you can't do this, so why don't you stop trying this and that." I was like, they're just like throwing him down right now. But it was a really good episode, and he just had to deal with something that he's dealt with, for decades because he's grown up, with his dad, and obviously ain't getting into the spirit world. We saw that, and I'm sure he's trying to teach Tenzin how to do it, and he just never could. It's the one thing he couldn't get done. So it was cool to kind of see him go through that and deal with him having all the knowledge but zero ability, and he kind of has to pass the torch on to his daughter. And I think it was also a sense of like he talks about how she's not prepared for the dangers and things like that. It wasn't just the fact that he felt it was his destiny and stuff, which he did, but once he finally got past that, like at the very end, I think it was also he didn't want his daughter to be in danger because she's not exactly experienced with you know combat like he would be, even if he doesn't have experience with against spirits. Aside from earlier this season, he does he can fight a little bit better than his own kids. So and obviously I'm being sarcastic when I say a little bit, so in case you can figure that out. But it was a really good episode. I enjoyed that more than the other two stories, but they were good stories. The most interesting thing was Varric and his kids. It was kind of obvious after some of the stuff that was shown that he could go into the spirit world, or at least into sort of like the middle portion of the spirit world where the northern and southern portals basically join together. And he goes in and he takes Desna and Eska in with him to basically destroy the portal from the inside so that he can, connect them both for convergence. And it was really interesting to me when Desna gets hurt. Yeah, pretty sure I have that right. When he gets hurt, Eska's like, "Hey, he's hurt. We have to, take him to a healer." And Varric says, "This is more important." And that's not the part that really surprises me too much, because generally, when a villain's so bad they betray their, like nephew or niece or nephew, it doesn't tend to surprise you when they like screw over their own kids and stuff, or even their brother too. So it's just like, meh, no big deal. But we got to see, Eska does take up for Desna, and she basically just takes him away. She's like, "I'm taking him to get healed." So it shows like in the end when things kind of go crazy, she's gonna choose her brother over her father because they're twins. They have that real serious bond, and just based on him saying that one time, it makes it really easy to imagine he probably didn't say that specific line like this is more important than my son or my daughter, but he's probably done some stuff where it's like obviously he put the kids on the back burner, and was working towards his own goal for himself. So we get to see they have that connection, and at least Asuka cares more about Desna than her own father, and I'm sure it would be exactly the same if she was the one who got hurt. But it was kind of cool to see that because it kind of makes me excited to imagine what could happen in future episodes if, like I said, things do get crazy, like him working with the evil spirit. Of course, I forgot it. Batu, him working with that spirit and them not exactly knowing all the details because in this episode, once again, his kids don't really know all the details because when he came out of the portal in the episode before the beginnings, Desna flat out asked him, like, did you just come out of the spirit world? Like, they obviously had no idea what he's doing or what he was doing or what his plan really is. So when he actually does release Vachu, which I'm sure is going to happen, they aren't really going to know what to think or what to do because they probably just think it's like, hey, we're going to do this and basically just control the South Pole in spirits, but their dad's going to try to, like, kill a bunch of people, I'm sure. So it'll be cool to see them kind of, just flip teams and, then they'll be with Korra and Team Avatar. And that kind of leads me into the third story in this episode, which was, Mako trying to prove to everyone that Varric is a bad guy now. And as I mentioned before, I really hated the fact that they made him a bad guy. But, like, they obviously took out him being hilarious. They do have a little funny moment where, him, like, walking on the coals to burn foot fungus. And, they have that, but he obviously has that, like, funny, like, tone to him. But he's obviously incredibly serious when he's, sort of conveying the message to Mako, like, hey, if you don't join my team and shut up and stop looking for trouble, I'm gonna hurt, Asami and your brother. So, Mako declines, and instead of, Barry deciding to hurt either of them, he decides to just go after Mako, and he sets him up, and he gets arrested. And now, before that happens, Mako and Asami being together just made me mad. Like, when they first did it, it was really funny because it was like, Bolin was right there, and as soon as Asami, like, touched Mako's arm, like, Bolin was smiling, and he's like, and so he's looking around and stuff, he's like, are you two together again? And then when she goes to his house, I thought he was just gonna, like, push her away, like she'd kind of be coming after him because, he helped her out in the one episode, so she kind of has an attachment to him again. But, he'd be like, no. I thought he'd at least hold out. I mean, geez, just some integrity. But he was just like, maybe I could go for dinner. And then they're about to make out before he gets arrested. So I'm still mad about that. The Varric thing, I think, could turn out pretty cool if he ends up being a cool villain. And something I thought of when Mako left the room, when he was walking on the coals, it would have been so cool if he just walked across them and we find out, like, he's actually a firebender or something crazy like that. I think that would have been amazing if that happened and he could just, like, basically turn off all the fire on the coals. But that didn't happen. But that was just in my head. I thought that would be so sweet if it turned out he was a firebender and he just hid that from everyone. But, they toned down the comedy. I still hate the fact that he's a villain because I loved his character. But, it could turn out that he's a pretty cool villain, and however this ends up playing out with him getting busted or not getting busted. But I'm excited to see where it goes. Love the episode aside from the Asami stuff. So comment below, let me know what you thought. Favorite part, least favorite thing about Asami and Mako, because that has to be the least favorite part. And anything else, speculations you have for next week's episode and stuff. And also, what do you think of Tenzin never having been in the spirit world? Does it change your opinion of him, or how does it change him as a character to you? So comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.